Number 2, Jesus is my dad says, where were people who died and later got resurrected located in that period? Do they go to heaven or hell and get snatched back to earth after they're resurrected? E.g., Lazarus, Dorcas, Eutychus, these are different people. So these are people who died and then were later resurrected. Lazarus being a really extreme example because he died for multiple days. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. Okay, so where was he? Where was he? Where was his soul? My belief about the intermediate period are as follows: the soul survives the body, and there is a locality in some sense. I don't know in what sense exactly. I'm a little fuzzy on that, but the soul is located somewhere, at least in some sense. I mean, how does a disembodied soul experience space and all that? I don't know, but the soul's having an experience. Okay, the disembodied soul has some kind of experience. And that the location or the place of that experience is different before Christ's death than it is after Christ's death. And this is kind of key if you want to understand at least my perspective on this. Before Christ's death, I think that the souls were gathered to a place of either let me see, how do I put this? A place of comfort until final entrance into God's presence, or a place of unpleasant, like the difference between jail and prison. So like a local cop can arrest you and throw you in the local jail at the police precinct, but after your judgment comes, then you can be thrown in prison. Okay, so there's something kind of like the jail versus the prison. So I think that the souls of the unsaved go to that, which biblically the Greek term would be Hades, and the saved go to a place that's similar to that, except that it's a place of comfort, right? But it's similar in some features. After the death and resurrection of Christ, I think that our souls go to be with the Lord. And this is based on a lot of different scriptures, but one is like Paul, and I've taught on this, and people think that I'm misquoting it, but I'm not quoting it. I'm summarizing the teaching we learned from it. Well, you'll either hear me or not on that. But that I do think it's true that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's not a quote. It's a summary of the teaching based upon what Paul taught in a passage where he talked about his own potential death. He thought he would be present with the Lord if he died. Immediately present with the Lord, which is why he'd rather right now be dead and present with God than with the people, but he's going to continue on serving. What's the difference? Why is this different? Because I think that Jesus' death delivered those from that sort of temporary holding place of comfort into the presence of God, though they're still waiting on their resurrected bodies. So all this to say, Lazarus was before the cross. Lazarus would have been in that place of comfort, right? Abraham's bosom, so to speak, and then brought back. Whether he would remember it or not, have details or stories or not, we don't know. We don't have anything on that. Somebody like Eutychus, well, he would have been in the very presence of God. But Eutychus is different than Lazarus in an important way. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. Eutychus was dead very briefly. It was just for moments, it seems. If I remember correctly, Eutychus is the gentleman who fell out the window while Paul was teaching for too long. Okay, it wasn't too long. Paul's my model for teaching, right? He taught all day into the night. And Eutychus fell asleep and fell out the window, and then Paul resurrected him. But he was dead for moments. So, would the soul have departed that quickly? I don't know. Yeah. But I do think in general you have those two different locations before the cross and after the cross. So the believers now will be in the presence of God when we pass.